Hi everyone, Rachel Jensen here, broker owner of Luna Realty Belize. We are going to be answering question number 59, which is in the inbox today when we answer questions that have been asked by folks like you about the real estate industry here in Belize. So this question was asked by a fellow named Mark, and he said, I'm looking to buy a business in Belize. What should I look out for? And that is a great question. Obviously, the answer to that can be very long, but I'm going to keep it concise for you. And then do let you know that we have a complimentary resource if you are interested in buying a business in Belize that you can request at the end of the session. And that will give you a much bigger overview, broader overview of everything that you should know. But let's just jump into 5 questions that you should ask if you are looking at a business in Belize. And a lot of this also translates to businesses outside of Belize. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're someone who bought a business, sold a business, this probably seems a little familiar to you. Now, just because it's in a tropical country does not mean it gives you the ability, or you should be a little bit more loosey-goosey on your due diligence or the questions that you're asking. If anything, you should really be asking more questions. A lot of the times, well, I'll get into that in a minute. All right, so let's go through the questions to ask. Number 1 is, why are they selling? Always great to know. Is it because the company is not making money? Is it because they need to go home, right? A lot of times expats here will start a business and then life unexpectedly brings them back home, whether it's an older parent that's not doing well or whatever the case is. And 2 is there room for growth and expansion? And I want to mention this because I will say once people come down here to Belize, especially expats, if they think they're going to be really productive and be in this work mode, a lot of times island life catches up to them. And, instead of putting in their 8, 10, 12 hours a day with their business, they are instead, oh, you know what? It's 2 o'clock on a Tuesday. I'm going to go grab a margarita for the two for one margaritas down the street at the taco restaurant, right? So you can look at an opportunity and see if there's room for growth and expansion. A lot of this will typically come if you've seen the numbers, right? You can understand what they've done. Typically, you will request a profit and loss statement, but also looking at the industry, seeing what they're doing and see if there's any ways that you can expand on what they're already doing. Understanding what the current challenges are, talking to the owner or talking to the seller's rep is important for you to understand what you would be taking on if you are going to be buying the business. Also, of course, this is a no-brainer, but what are the assets and the values of those assets? Also, be a little bit more understanding that in Belize, assets may be a little bit more expensive because a lot of things are brought here into the country or brought specifically to the island if you're looking on the Keys. And especially if you're looking at a private island, I know some people were looking at islands and are like, wow, I just can't believe how expensive it is, because it's expensive to furnish a property if you're on an island, to get infrastructure if you're on a private island. There's a lot that goes into business, but understand the assets and the values. Like a golf cart company, for example, if they're telling you that they've had these carts, what year is the cart? How much work have they done on it? When was the last time they serviced it? What were the latest issues? Understanding that background. In addition to that, this is probably one of the biggest ones that I think people forget to ask is, do they own the property? Does the person selling the business own the property where the business is located? In many cases, especially if it is a bar, restaurant, regardless of what the business is, they may be in a leased space. So when you're buying the business, you may not be buying the real estate that the business is held in. And so if you ask this question and you understand it's a leased space, make sure you're asking for a lease and understanding how long that lease is for, because you don't want to be coming into a business and then the lease expires the next month and then they want to increase your rent threefold because they have a new tenant in. So really make sure that you're securing yourself in a lease that is going to be affordable. Let me give you a few other business tidbits that typically may not always be published, but I do want to be transparent so that you understand. Number 1 is a lot of businesses do have 2 sets of books. So, and I would just ask that, I would just be upfront with the seller's agent and ask them if they do have 2 sets of books. And if they do, would they be willing to show you the other set that they may not necessarily be presenting initially? Number 2 is it's not uncommon for owners to show a negative for their US and Canadian taxes. So just understand that, be willing, if you're seeing negative numbers, to really talk to the rep to understand why it's negative. Is it something that could have been positive if they didn't put XYZ in to make it negative? But also in Belize, understand that business tax is 1.75% of the gross, and you don't get to write off any expenses. Like in the States or Canada, you write off your expenses, and then based on your net number, that's what your charge tax is on. Here, it's not that. It's 1.75% of the gross. It actually depends what industry you're in, but generally it's 1.75%. And you can get credit for GST, right? So if you're buying X amount of products and you're paying X amount of GST on those products, then when you have your GST bill and what you owe, you can credit what you've paid to what you owe in the GST. And then also understand the potential, not just what the business has done. So this goes back to one of the last points is sometimes people here don't put their ability in and really make the business as good as it can be because they've either just gotten lazy or island time or whatever the case may be. And in some cases, there may be real legitimate reasons why they haven't expanded or why they haven't really produced like we think that they should have. And I apologize, there I see it says under instead understand, but I think you guys got the point of it. But just again, understand what the potential is. And that will take you coming down and visiting, right? And visit different times of the year if the business has been for sale for a while, come at different points of the year, ask to see the numbers, make sure that you are really in tune with what the business is doing, what the potential it can be doing. So here are a couple of examples of great properties that I think are on the market. This is Croc Sunset Sports Bar. It's an established business, been operating for 7 years under the same owners, located in the popular Tres Cocos area. It's a prime spot to go and watch the sunset. There are the crocodiles that come by, hence the name. And they do host a lot of sports events here. Super Bowl is one of the biggest. New Year's Eve is one of the biggest. And do note that the real estate is included with this one. So you own that the three-story structure you see there, and you also own the business unit. This is another option. It's Sweetwater Resort. It's 5 units located about 6.5 miles north. This one's going for 1.65. This is fairly new to the market. There's also a bar restaurant on site, and it also has a dock and a boardwalk there. So just do note that as you have some benefits and perks to this property. If anybody is interested, please note that depending on when you're listening to this, there may be availability of these properties and these businesses, there may not be, but of course, just reach out to us. There are some other businesses. It's not really too many for sale right now, but there are some good opportunities. Now, I would encourage you to reach out if you are considering owning a business in Belize. It's your guide to buying a business in Belize. It's really everything that you need to know to make a smart decision and to make sure you're asking the right questions, what sort of contingencies you should have in your offer to purchase, what the buying process looks like. We'd love to help guide you through that. My name is Rachel Jensen, and we look forward to hearing from you. Bye, everyone.